My topic is minimum wage for tipped workers. And the way I came upon this topic was by doing a problem in math class, actually. It was in math class. We were given an amount paid for a total bill and the percentage of the tip, and then we had to figure out how much was the tip, how much was the bill. And somehow we digressed. We got to talking about our own food service experiences and horror stories of waiters and waitresses. And then somebody had said something along the lines in class about, well, they don't need minimum wage because then they wouldn't desire to do a good job. They wouldn't try harder and provide great customer service, so they don't need minimum wage. And I thought that would make a really good topic for a major controversy paper in English class, so I decided on that. I haven't really gotten far with the paper, unfortunately. Writing really makes me nervous, so I tend to really look for sources and then spend too much time reading them and trying to boil them down into what I want to say and how they'll fit into the paper. I have searched some more on, I think it's the Gale Topic Finder. It's been a really invaluable source for finding reliable peer-reviewed sources. You can narrow them down by like minimum wage and just tipped workers, and by state or past things, like minimum wage in the past, things like that. It's really helpful. I have also used Google Scholar, and they have an option where you can click peer reviewed, so you're sure that you are getting peer reviewed, reliable sources. Even doing searches through newspapers, I've tried as well, like Washington Post, New York Times, things like that. But I've been surprised at the amount of sources, or the lack rather of sources, that I've found that aren't staunchly against raising the minimum wage. I thought there would be a lot more sources where they said, this is bad for business. We can't do this. They won't provide good customer service if we pay them minimum wage. The only things I have found along those lines would be from the workers' perspective. Actually, it was a Washington Post article. The workers were saying that they can end up making more than the minimum wage just by getting tips in a night. But of course, that might actually work out better for somebody who's in Chicago or the city than somebody who's in just only in New York. So, of course, it doesn't work out everywhere. But I was thinking of doing the financial side of it. Most of the sources I found are really dry, sort of economics thesis, economics research, in-depth profit analysis, and things that I'm just not really equipped to understand. I'm not an economics person at all. I can't really wrap my head around it. So I'm not sure if I would be able to do that side of it, just not being able to understand all of that. I was thinking of maybe changing it to motivation. I have found a few sources that say either tips do motivate people to work harder or they don't, or how that would affect it. Another really good source I found, I think it was somebody's thesis. I found it through the Gale Topic Finder. It was going into the history of it and all those smaller debates behind it, like racism and sexism and profit margins and corporate greed, things like that, as to why somebody would choose to keep their workers at just a tipped wage over minimum wage. I don't want to state what my side of it is, because I've never really had to write anything where I don't fight for one side or the other. So I don't want to bias myself by putting myself in a little box and saying, well, this is the side that I have to do, to just try to make myself not in that mindset where, well, I either have to fight for minimum wage or against it. But I really just have to get myself in gear and stop trying to analyze so many sources and actually get some writing done. But usually free writing is what I like to do first, and then boil that down into some sort of rough draft and put it on paper or online and get it into Blackboard.